Hello, Kristine.
Hello, Kristine. She was here. She's coming back.
I'm back. We need you.
I accidentally clicked twice.
You did that just to keep us on our toes, didn't you?
I did.
I'm here and
Suspense.
Awesome. So, next up at Search London tonight, all the way from Las Vegas. Joe stole my thunder earlier. We've got Kristine Schackinger. Kristine is a technical SEO with over 2 decades experience working in digital media. She's the CEO and founder of Nevada-based agency Sites Without Walls. And she's going to be speaking about a topic which is close to all of our hearts, Google Updates. The title of Kristine's presentation is Core Updates, the Down and Dirty Quick Recovery Tips. And again, if you've got any questions for Kristine, put them into the Q&A, and we'll run a Q&A session after Kristine's talk. So I'll duck out and over to you.
Okay. So we're going to talk about the down and dirty on core updates, Google's quality algorithm. You can reach me for questions in the Q&A or on Twitter afterwards or at the email on my slides. So this is a 10-minute talk, so this is going to be very quick. We're going to go over the highlight 30,000-foot view, and if you have questions afterwards, please feel free to ask me. So let's go real quick. Why does Google have algorithm updates at all? Originally, there was something called spam. We still deal with spam, and those are the original algorithms that Google wrote to get rid of things like pharmaceuticals, porn, casino sites in the search results, so that the search results wouldn't produce junk all the time. And people used invisible text, keyword stuffing, hidden links, things like that. And Google created the algorithms to defeat spammers. We know this is black hat SEO. Black hat SEO is just a tactic. It's not illegal. It's just a tool. Unless you're doing hacking, then that's something else. So then Google moved from spam algorithms to usability algorithms. So some of the focus starts around 2010, 2012. Page speed has been in a ranking factor for 11 years now. Core Web Vitals are something new, and they're adding on to that.
Just one thing, Kristine. We can just see, it's not in present mode, so we can just see the
Oh, shoot. Sorry, guys.
page. Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Sorry about that. You didn't really miss much. my spam thing, spam stuff, black hat, usability. Sorry about that. So some of the examples of usability focus and algorithm updates were top-heavy ads, page layout, algorithm, page speed, mobile-friendly, interstitials that interfere with the user. So Google started with spam algorithms. Sorry, it's early here in Las Vegas, to filter out spam, and then they started filtering out bad user experiences. So why did they add usability? Well, Google doesn't really serve a product other than ads, but it serves the sites that it shows in the search results. And if those sites aren't good sites to use, then you might go over to a competitor like Bing. Also, it's heavy on resources if a site has bad usability. And then there are a lot of abuses, especially ads on sites. We've all been to those sites where people just shove ads. And so Google started affecting sites and algorithm updates that had those bad qualities. So now we're moving to site quality. So instead of strictly having algorithms like spam and usability, now it's a general algorithm about filtering out low quality sites. And these are quality updates. I don't know that Google calls them quality updates, but they do refer to quality and core updates all the time. So the first one that was really big, there was one actually in 2017, people didn't really notice. The first one that was really big was called the Medic update in 2018. A lot of sites woke up one morning and they saw the Google Analytics looked like this. And by the way, if you lose 10 or 15% during a core update, you probably weren't affected by the core update. Core updates are usually pretty heavy declines. It's probably the sites that link to you that got hit and then you lost link value.
Hey, Kristine, so sorry to interrupt. Yes. We can just see you, we can see the spam one, but I don't think it's in presentation mode.
It is in presentation mode. I don't know what to do.
Oh.
Sorry, guys.
We can just see the one that started with spam. So I don't know if you can, I don't know, click through the slides instead of presentation mode, if the presentation mode is not showing what it's supposed to show.
Can you see it now?
We can see the spam.
But you can't see the next slide.
Well, we can see like the next slide is some things, and then it's a hat, and then it's as if you were looking at with the notes, you know, on the side, on the left-hand
Oh,
side.
that's so weird. I don't. Is that better?
Oh, maybe it's presenting on the wrong screen, Julie was saying, if you're using multiple screens. Oh, now we can see the hat. Now we can see the hat.
Can you see the left side?
We can still see the left side, yes.
Yeah, so I see if I go here, presenter view, that's what I clicked. You don't see anything?
We see the hat.
And then, but if I go to the next slide, you don't see it.
Exactly, yeah. So I don't know if it's better to do the other way. Or maybe try clicking through individual slides, Isabella's saying.
Like this? Does that change it?
No, it doesn't. I don't know why. I don't know if you want to try stopping and then sharing your screen again, perhaps. Maybe it might work.
Okay, let me try again. Sorry, guys.
Well, we always have some technical difficulties, so...
Yeah, it just would have been better if it happened when we did the practice.
Yeah, it was working.
Now.
We did have a practice, and
We
yes,
did have a
Sean,
practice, and
have
it
you
was
tried
fine, yeah.
off and on again? Yes. Is it plugged in? Yes.
Okay, let's try share screen again.
Yes, but no stress, because you know this is a after work event or before work for Kristine in Las Vegas.
So you can see that, right?
You can see the hat, and I can see you scrolling up to the top.
Okay, so you can see this slide, but if I do this, you can't see the change to 10 minutes?
Correct.
Okay, that's regular view. And I tried presenter view. I don't know what else to try. Unless I just go through the slides like this and you ignore the left side.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, just ignore. We won't pay attention to the left-hand side. Just click through. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on. So
it's fine. No stress. So maybe try clicking on the spam one. Yeah, Sean's like, we promise we won't read ahead. Yeah, you click on the, okay. Click on the next one, the one with the lines.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I think we just do that one because we can see it there. Okay.
Okay.
That's
sorry,
good.
folks.
No problem. It happens. All right, I'll leave you.
Okay. Should I just start over, or where do you want me to start?
I think you covered. You know, some of the talked about the spam and the black hat.
Why don't I start when we go to site quality? That's the important part.
Perfect.
Okay.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, as Simon says. Okay.
Right?
See you then.
Okay. So we had spam algorithms and usability algorithms. Really sorry about all that, guys. We did practice, and for some reason it's not working today. So we moved to site quality. Site quality algorithms were more comprehensive. So there was ones targeting spam and then usability. Then we filtered out low quality sites. These are quality updates. So in 2018, there was the Medic update. That's the first one everyone noticed, but I have found a mention of one in 2017, but it was much smaller, and so people didn't see it. Then there's, so we came in the Medic update, people woke up, they saw all this, their traffic just fell off a cliff. If you heard like 10, 15, 20%, chances are it's not a Medic issue, core update issue. It's an issue probably with the sites that are linking to you that got hit and lessened your link profile, or something else might be going on. Core updates tend to be pretty heavy and pretty certain, so 40, 50, 70, 80, I've even seen 95% drops. So everyone was screaming like this, especially online, and a lot of the sites that got hit were health sites. So people assumed it was a Medic update, that Google was filtering out health sites for some reason. But when we look at what actually got hit, we find out, of course, that that's a misnomer. A lot of sites got hit, different types, but they all fall under what you call your money or your life sites. So your money or life comes out of Google's Quality Raters Guide. We will not be talking about that here today. We don't have the time also. It's really not that relevant to core updates. But your money or your life is any page of content that can affect someone's health, happiness, safety, or financial stability. Basically, they're ones that cover these news and current events, civics and government, finance, shopping, health and safety, you can read. And then other's the big one. So this is from the Quality Raters Guide. I have the links in here. You can go look at it. Other means any page Google decides is relative to those original issues of future happiness, health, financial stability, or safety. But Google says it doesn't know what your Money Your Life site is in search, so how does it target them? Remember, we just looked at your Money Your Life pages, not sites. They're not looking at your Money Your Life sites. They don't know if your site's your Money or Your Life. They know that the queries are. So the queries are known because they're entities. For those that don't know, entities is just a fancy word for noun. Your Money or Your Life is addressed at the query level. So you're going to see drops on your site at the query level, not necessarily the page level or the site level. So what are core updates again? The hint is in the name core. So core updates are core ranking factors. You know, all those basic ranking factors, you know, interlinking, site architecture, quality content, technical issues. So Google is tweaking core ranking factors to better surface the types of sites as described in the Quality Raters Guide. So it's a quality update, but again, they are not, the Quality Raters Guide is not an SEO guide. That is the goals for the algorithms. That's the types of sites they want to surface. There's a lot of stuff in the Quality Raters Guide that has nothing to do with SEO. So what are meta or core updates or not? I've seen a lot of different things online. They're not about accuracy of content or authorship or credential of authors. Authorship and credential of authors actually is part of the news algorithms, but they're not related to core updates. Bios, linking out, certifications, etc. Swear words in your comments. You could get filtered out as an adult site if there's too much of that, but again, not related to core updates. Tone of your content, definitely not. Schema, really important, but not related to core updates. So this is what core updates are about. This is the most important side of this because this comes from Google. I asked Google specifically when there was a lot of discussion in the beginning where they're looking at content accuracy, using consensus of data, of credentials, of the author. No. Are they working with current and existing quality and ranking signals to help pull back sites that are more aligned with what would be most likely accurate in relation to the query? Would that be correct? The person from Google said, yes, that is a fair summary of what we've said. So this is what a core update is about. So if your site looks like this, you can recover. But how do you recover? First thing you want to do is ignore what Google says here. There's no fix for the pages, and all you have to do is content. Content's awesome, but in all the sites I fixed for core updates, and I fixed quite a few, content has never been the thing I had to fix. So if your site went up, if a site went up above you and you went down, then they did something you didn't. So our core updates are about the distance from perfect, or how close or far we are from the ideals of the core ranking factors, the ideals that Google has in mind of what's a good site. What are core ranking factors and signals? We don't have time to get into all those today, but I'm going to give you two awesome references. First, we have how search works. Google explains how it organizes information, how the search algorithms work on a basic level, how your content should work. And then we have the Search Engine Optimization Starter Guide. When people think, oh, I'm an SEO for a while, I don't really need to read this. It's always good to go back and read what Google has currently on the site. But also all your core ranking signals and factors are in this guide. Because again, these are core ranking signals. There's nothing crazy about it. It's just, is your site meeting the basics of a good site? And also Google will tell you in how the search algorithms work, how your queries should work. So relevance of meaning of your query, your relevance, your quality of your content, your usability of your web pages. This is all part of the core update structure. So you're going to check the site for the issues related to core ranking factors, and then you're going to fix them. Yeah, it sounds like easier said than done. One of the big things about core updates I've noticed in all the ones I've worked with, the issues are glaring, and they've been on the sites for years. I had one site that had an average 2-minute load time during the best years of the site 2-3 years ago. I had another one that had its best traffic ever and then was hit 90% loss on a core update. And again, they had no negative effect from the issues I found, even though the issues were there for years. Core updates are boringly simple but complex. So the devil's in the details. So basically, you have query issues, query relevance, user intent, query shifting. This is really important. I've seen Google shift people from a broader query to a narrow query, which means that you probably have a lot less traffic in the narrow query. This is easily fixed if you can write relevant content to the broader query as well. Hub pages are really good for this. Hub pages which offshoot smaller, more specific pages. Overall site quality, technical, usability, content quality. A lot of people think inbound links is part of it. I do not. the real-time Penguin algorithm runs every 3 to 4 months, just like the core updates run every 3 to 4 months. So I think what's happening is they're running around the same time, and people think inbound links are related, but they're not. They're related to the Penguin algorithm. So how do you fix them? First, make sure you check your queries. Remember, this happens at the query level. So see where you lost impressions and clicks in Search Console. Don't use third-party tools because you want the real data from your site, the one that Google is giving you. Then write a site crawl. You can use Sitebulb, you can use Screaming Frog. I love using both because they find things differently, present the information differently. Make sure to fix your technical issues first, because if Google can't crawl and index your pages properly, nothing else matters. And in every site I've worked on and recovered, and when I say recover, I mean 100% or more of the lost traffic, they've had major technical issues. Then you want to check and improve your query relevance and content quality. This comes straight from John Mueller. He said that the core updates are related to quality of site, which we just talked about, and query relevance and content quality. Make sure you check Google for the query drops, because sometimes the site will just drop on a few core terms. Like one site lost 60% of their traffic from a 2-word term that had other context around it. It was 1,800 of their queries. So look for that and make sure your pages are relevant to the entity being searched, the noun being searched, and is your content meeting user intent. Quick example of a core update recovery. I can't name the site, but this is a site that was public about their issue. It was hit by a core update, found out it had technical issues through query analysis, did the query analysis, saw that in GSC, saw that it dropped on certain words, found that those related to only 2 folders on the site, crawled these and found 800 redirect loops. Redirect loops Google hates, they'll leave your site in an instant, 800 dropped pages, and an unsupported script causing large load times. We removed all these, got the site load down to 12 seconds on average, and on the next update, they got 100 and 105% recovery. So this site was only technical issues. There's nothing else wrong with the site but those 2 technical issues, redirect loops and page speed. An important note on time to recover. It used to be you had to have another update come out to recover fully, but now John says that in between updates you may see improvement. That's because these are core ranking factors. Google tweaks those all the time. So they may tweak something that hurts your site, but you still probably won't see full recovery without the rollout. So a quick recap. Read the Google documents on how search works and the SEO starter guide. This one, how search works, with all the information about query relevance and usability. The SEO starter guide with all the information about basic core factors. And then check these areas of your site. Again, query relevance, user intent, shifting, query shifting in GSC, overall site quality, technical, usability, and content quality. Technical means site architecture, navigation, page speed, canonicals, href lengths, all those kind of things. Then check, so basically quick down and dirty is check your queries in GSC looking for the issue, crawl your site with a good crawl tool that'll help point out the issues to you, find what's wrong and apply the fixes. And then you can look like this when you're all done. And there's some resources for you to read. And that's it. And I'm trying to figure out how to get out of here.
Awesome. Thanks, Kristine. That was wicked. I'm glad we got your slides working at last.
Yeah, kind of. Sorry, guys. I don't know what happened there. I tried all the different methods.
Good. Yeah, we had a perfect view. We had a perfect view. Anyway. Right, we've got a few questions for you.
Sure.
Q&A section. So one has been upvoted 4 times. If you're invited to do a tech SEO audit for the former President of the United States, would you A, take the money and tell them to increase domain authority, or B, tell them to buy links?
I wouldn't do anything with domain authority because that's not a Google concept. And there's so many things that could be on a site that not necessarily links at all. So you have to check. You have to run a full qual. Anytime I work with a site or a client, I always do an audit first. They pay for the audit, and then we work from there, so we don't do any cookie cutter SEO. And you especially want to look at the technical. Technical is really huge. People don't realize how big it is. I've recovered more sites with technical than anything else.
Awesome. Next question. What do you say to people who don't tell their clients about Google updates? Or is it something you proactively educate your clients on or warn your clients about?
Oh, yeah, of course, because we're always future-proofing. Any client I've actually worked with the SEO and had control of the SEO has never had a downturn. And that's because we're always working on making sure that we're ahead of the curve. Like my clients on Core Web Vitals, we've been doing stuff out of the developer documents since 3 years ago. So they're already ready. They just have to tweak a few things for the Core Web Vitals. So yeah, so you want to make sure that you're future-proofing your site, always ahead of the game, know where Google's going, and make sure that you're working on the site all the time to make it as close to perfect as possible, because then you're kind of insulated from bad things happening. Not always, but most of the time.
I think that goes some way to answering the next question as well, which is the work you do around Google Updates reactive, or other measures you can take ahead of updates to minimize negative impacts?
I'm sorry, what was the first part of the question?
Is the work that you do around Google Updates reactive, or are there measures you can take ahead of updates to minimize negative impact?
Yeah, I always future-proof. So generally, I'm cleaning up sites. But when I find a client I really like, I'll work with them full-time. So you can do a lot of future-proofing. If you look at SEO Starter Guide and you read how search engines work from Google, you can see all the things you really need to make sure are spec. Like crawl your site once a month and make sure you can crawl it properly. Sitebulb and Screaming Frog aren't expensive tools, and they're really good for that. And then you can find out if the developers added something to the site that might have been an issue and you didn't know about it. So regularly checking, regularly updating, and having a good relationship with the developers, if it's a larger company, are always ways to make sure that you can insulate yourself from any problems.
And are there any, you just mentioned a couple of bits of software that you use. That's the next question. What software do you use to monitor changes in your client's website?
I primarily use Sitebulb and Screaming Frog. As a consultant, I really can't afford to carry a tool load of thousands a month. So Sitebulb is only 150, 160, I think, pounds a year, or dollars, I forget the conversion. And then Screaming Frog, I'm sorry. And then Sitebulb is like $35 a month. But they are the best tools I have in my arsenal. Sitebulb gives you a lot of good data, hints that you can use to explain things to the client. Screaming Frog's raw, it just gives you all the information right up front. They both look at the sites a little bit differently, so it's good to have both tools, not just one or the other. But those are the those are the tools I primarily use.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, cool. And then how many clients do you work with? That's the next question.
It depends. Right now, I'm working with a big client on a site migration, and so just them and one other. If I have smaller clients, I may work with up to 4 or 5. That's about it. Also, with site audits, I probably only take about 3 to 4 audits on at a time, so that I can properly, give the attention that the client needs.
Awesome. Next question: structured data. Is it worth adding structured data types that Google currently ignores?
Yeah. So Google says that it does read some of the structured data types that they don't list, so we don't know which ones necessarily. But when Google does, it doesn't use NLP. Would be natural language processing. As you and I speak, Google would understand it in that context without interpreting it. It uses something under the umbrella of NLU, natural language understanding, and that means it needs an interpreter, and Schema is the interpreter. Schema says this is an article, this is an author. So when it looks at, it knows what that content is supposed to be. So Schema is really good. It's not a reactor. Make sure you get it right, because it can't hurt you if you do it wrong. But Schema is really important, so Google can help to understand your site better. Did I answer that question? I don't know if I answered the whole question.
Cool. Right. The questions are all changing positions now and confusing with people upvoting questions. Do you have any general recommendations for site architecture in e-commerce? So flat versus siloed architecture.
So, on e-commerce with a billion-dollar company who had 2 pages in monitoring. So with site architecture, the best way to look at it as a good book. So your navigation, the chapters, how are you organizing that content? I usually tell clients the best way to do it is just a Word doc, so they can see where everything should go, and they'll notice where things are missing. That's more general, but to a question like that, I would have to know more specific. Give a real answer there.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. We've lost your picture, by the way, but we can still hear you loud and clear.
You lost my picture?
It's just the main thing. We can't see you. But
I can see me. I can see you guys. I'm just a mess today with like gremlins or something.
One of the tables actually where people started disappearing, but certain people see other people.
Yeah, it's so weird. I'm still here.
I can't. But it's fine. It's fine. So what's the #1 mistake you see people making across sites migrations?
Oh, site migrations. The biggest mistake you can make in a site migration is not properly mapping your old content to your new content, because your links go with that. And content that's relevant on the new site to the old page, Google may devalue the links altogether because it's the to the page. So you really want to make sure when you migrate that you have pages that are relevant to pages that have high link value, and also to your topic. Make sure you don't just do a big, or you forget to pull things over. Sorry, it's early and I'm talking over myself. And then the other thing too is make sure that everything goes over your pages to a new site.
Yeah, fantastic. Next question: how much of a change do you think the core Web Vitals update in May will actually make? It feels like many of the factors already. It's catching. It's catching. It's catching. My excuse is that it's getting late now. Let me start again. So how much of a change do you think the core Web Vitals update in May will actually make? It feels like many of the factors were already suspected to be ranking factors. So is this Google?
So page speed is a big ranking factor. I know a lot of people think it's not. I had one site get 200,000 more session visits a day from just page speed update changes. Page speed changes. So Google says it's just like a tiebreaker, but it's not. Now, if you don't have much to improve, that's different. But if you have a lot to improve, you can get a lot of traffic and visibility. So with Core Web Vitals, if you've been doing page speed for the last 10 years or 5 years or 3 years or 2 years, all they're doing is they're trying to create a more homogeneous way to measure page speed that's easier for developers to work with. So you should be okay. You need to check everything. And that's not the only measure of page speed, Core Web Vitals, but it's the main one that they're going to use. If you've not done it, then you really need to do a page speed audit or get someone who knows how to do a page speed audit and get working on those right away, because Core Web Vitals, even if they're in the warning level, can still hurt you. You want to make sure that they're all in the good. Also remember, on Core Web Vital information from Google Search Console, it's only the last 30 days. So I had a client, when we measured his pages, were horrible, but Google said they're all perfect. And it was all perfect because the last 30 days, the users probably were all working like from Wi-Fi at home as opposed to like at a computer or a coffee shop or on their mobile phone. So you want to make sure that you do both checks, not just look in Search Console.
Okay. And we've got time for, I think, one or two more questions. Have you noticed any significant site gains or losers following the recent December or Aldo update?
One of the sites I've been working with on a core update recovery, we took off, they had, I think, 12 years of content. We took the ads off of 8 years of their content because we found out bringing in any money. And site speed is also an aggregate score. So we were able to get 30% increase just from that. And then when the core update went through, we actually are up 110% over where we were before. Yeah, and we were consistently at X number of queries, of visitors, a day for months. This was a definite update. As far as others, I don't really look at other sites that I don't have any knowledge of, because you can assume so many things. And if you haven't worked at that site, you may be completely wrong.
Wicked. And last question, nice question to end on. What's the most fun Google manual penalty recovery you've ever performed?
Oh, most fun. I didn't have this as most fun. Well, there was one that had so many penalties on it. A Google engineer asked to see the penalties because they didn't believe it had that many and was still in existence. But the one that was the most interesting, probably not fun, but interesting, is that we found that the developers had left a site search open on an e-commerce site. So anything you put in there created a page, and it put the words in the title, the H1, the URL, and the description, and the content area. So when spammers found this, they had a great time, And I couldn't get the VP to really look at it until I showed him one of the worst pages, and I will not repeat it here because it's blasphemous. And he stopped in the middle of the meeting, ended the meeting, and said we had to fix it. Well, we got a penalty for that user-generated content because they were using the site search to create content. And that happened 4 weeks before Black Friday on a $2 billion e-commerce site. So what I did is I took exactly what they gave us in the manual action. I fixed that and submitted it, knowing they would have to review that and reject it because they were going to reject it. But it would get us past Black Friday. We got past Black Friday by 2 weeks, 1 week before the last week of shipping. They dropped us about 30–40%. We were already in the midst of fixing it all, thank goodness. And the last week of the month of December, we rolled it out, knowing that in January they come back and they do all the updates and we should get our sites back, and we did. So that was probably the most interesting one.
That sounds stressful. I don't know about fun. Interesting.
It's kind of fun though when you find something like that, because they were real quick. They had a man in the middle of attack for porn. So they were actually getting visits for porn sites. That was their fourth query in Google Search Console, which is the first thing that it alerted me that there was a problem. And they had a man in the middle of attack, and they had just closed off a cross-scripting vulnerability so that they couldn't do that anymore at about the time I started. So they had millions. They had 13 million Russian porn spam links that I had to sit there and disavow. And when Google tells you they always know links are bad, this is a $2 billion e-commerce company, major brand. They didn't figure out that it shouldn't get Russian porn spam links and be ranking for porn spam.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Nothing surprises me anymore. It's a good story.
Yeah, and just one thing I want to add on. Content I didn't talk about much today. Content is super important, and you want to make sure it's relevant and you do your research. But the core updates don't primarily focus on content unless you're just way off on your user intent, or but they do focus on the queries. So you want to look at the queries and see, because it's a your money, your life query where you dropped, and they may have shifted you, and that's the one thing you want to check on is for in your content area.
Focus on the queries.
Yeah, because it's only at the query level, so it's not at the page level. That's why they say your money, your life page, not your money, your life sites. And they identified your money, your life queries, and they attack the money, your life queries. So they know that like a medical query, heart attack, they know that finance or accounting, they know those entities because they've mapped those entities in their knowledge graphs and their vectors. So they don't know the site is about, but they do know that query is about it. So you'll find that the queries on a core update issue are always going to show you where the issues are, even if they're technical, like in the site that I showed where we found all the technical issues on 800 pages, fix those technical issues on those 800 pages, and they all came back.
Awesome.
Very impressive, Kristine. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Sorry for all the problems with the PowerPoint. I don't know what happened.
It's fine. It's absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine in the end.
Thanks, guys.
One of the questions I didn't ask from Sean was if Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers that Peter Piper picked?
Very good.
In Vegas. And what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas unless you live here.
Awesome. That was really good, Kristine. Thanks.
Will you be able to share the slides later? I mean, you can send them to myself and Tim, and we can share them out.
Sure. I'd love to do that, yeah. Great.
Thank you. And I have a few more minutes left, so please feel free to go and network with everyone. And also, Tim and I are really happy to announce our 10th birthday party, which will be in 4 weeks today, February the 23rd. So we're just waiting for a few confirmations from some sponsors. If any of you have any questions of what you'd like, or not questions, ideas of how you would like us to celebrate our 10th birthday in online or in our digital way, please send them through. But thank you very much in the meantime for Kristine getting up early to present, and Isabella dialing in from Birmingham, Tim over from East London, and I'm dialing in from Barcelona. And I think we've lost Kristine, and she will come back, I'm sure.
Sorry, I thought it was my time to go.
And she came back. So now you can go to the speaker's table and have a chat with some of the people before. I extended it for a little bit. It said half an hour, but I don't know if it will cut us off before. Our official end time is 7 p.m., so 11 a.m. your time.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. Thanks,
Thanks,
Kristine.
guys.
Thank you, Tim. We'll see you all at the tables now. See you. Bye.